that means everlasting death, right? If they don't repent of it. And if they do not bow down to the image, they're going to end up dying anyway. So their faith is really being tested. So they're going to have to really, really trust that, is God going to save me if I do the right thing? You know, so it's very interesting because this is what we face every single day, right? The choices that we make. We're talking about this in Bible study yesterday. How do we know when it's God talking to us and when it's not God talking to us? Here's a good example. What are we going to do? Go against God's will and bow down to an image that we know is not God? Or, and God specifically said, do not bow down to graven images and do not make idols. So God was specific about that commandment. It wasn't like a gray area that was very black and white. It was very specific. Or are we going to trust God that, okay, I'm going to have faith in you, God, that even if He throws me into the fire, you're going to save me? I believe that the majority of people would not do that, because the fact is that, why would you want to be thrown into a fire? It's gonna hurt. You know what I mean? And you're gonna die anyway. So I'm sure a lot of people probably were thinking, oh my God, I don't have a choice. I have to bow down to the image, you know, just to stay alive.
Okay, one word I'm gonna put of everything that Sister Karen said is conviction. That's the thing that separates people who are believers and people who are actual followers. In Jesus' time, they were called disciples. Jesus said that even the demons believe that there's a higher power. So that's not enough. Right? Like that is we talking bare minimum, that's like below bare minimum. See? Brother Kirk said even they're trembling. So they ahead of us. Because like we're not even trembling. So the belief alone will get you absolutely nowhere. To believe that there's gravity, but still jump off a building, will that help you? No, right? Because you're going to see how real gravity is when you hit the ground. See what I'm saying? So it's not about belief, is would you adhere to that belief and be convicted? Now, let's make application. We're going to do extreme and then look at today. They had an extreme case. Sister Karen is right. This went totally left from a couple of weeks ago, God being King of Kings, Lord of Lords. This went to now, if you don't bow down to this new thing, which is really in my own image as king, you will be put to death. Now, we're not talking about, let's argue about what church you go to, what day of the week you worship, how you save. Those things may be hurtful to us, but it's not life or death. We at least have to admit that, right? So the extreme is, these people were in a life or death situation for their faith. So the question is, Sister Karen was reading the instruments and it just said all these kind of instruments. We just stopped naming them because then we would have been here all day. When you hear these instruments, are you going to bow down? Yes or no? There is no gray area in this part of the study, correct? You either getting down or you not getting down. That's it. There's no, well, you know, let me explain. Can I explain what? No, I didn't hear it. I was looking for this kind of instrument. No, you either getting down or you not getting down. If you get down, your life is spared. We got that part. If you don't get down, everyone knows that you'll be put to death. Now, a couple of weeks ago when David interpreted the dream, we assumed jealousy would kick in from the other Magi's and the other wise people, remember, because they couldn't interpret. So remember, those people come from people too, right? So now is their chance, because when everyone gets down, they notice that there's some Jewish people who didn't bow down. So now they're saying, look, finally we have our shot. And because the king, this happens also with the lions then with Daniel, because the king spoke so emphatically, even though these people represented the same people that Daniel represented and he was in good favor, a decree is a decree. So you have to think, let me think to myself. Let's do what Sister Karen said. If we bow down, let's just assume, because she said most people she thinks will bow down. So let's say, okay, most of us bow down. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, we look back and they didn't bow down. Sister Karen is asking, would you stand up? Because at least we'll say, okay, you bow down first, because maybe you didn't think no one would bow down, right? But she's saying if you seen 3 people didn't bow down, would that convict you enough to get up? Or to her point, would you stay bowed down? See what we're asking? We already giving you a hall pass. We saying you bow down first. We not expecting you to be super faith. But she is asking you with your comment, if you notice other people were hanging in there, would you hang in there, or would you say, I'm not going to get up because I'll die too? Now, when you think about this and wrestling with this one, make sure you think this way. Are these people right now free or in bondage? Physically in bondage. So before you worry about saving your life, your life is not in the realm of us sitting here at this time anyway. So now think, if you were in bondage and someone said, hey, look, turn around, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't bow down. If we stand up, the worst that can happen is they'll kill us and we'll be spiritually and physically free. Would that convict you enough to stand up? Let's say you weren't convicted of yourself, but someone next to us nudged us and say, hey, look, we remember we slaves anyway, right? All we got to do is stand up. This will be 2 seconds. These people kill swift, right? We won't even feel no pain. They'll kill us and we'll be with God. Is that enough for you to say, you know what? I forgot about that. You're right. I'm going to stand up anyway. We giving a lot of passes this morning, right? We trying to catch some faith. Remember the angels came to Abraham and he was bartering and say, if you find this many people in it, me and Sister Karen just trying to find some people that'll get up. Is there any scenario that most people would get up? Most people, the answer is no, because Jesus already said wide is the way to destruction. See our point? But our point is, if you think about it in context, if you already in a bad way and death is what will free you, why are you hesitant, right? There's a TV show and there was a quote, this lady, she had a daughter and the daughter got murdered. And the lady said, you can't believe in heaven and then be sad when people go there. See, so we believe God is in the sky, correct? And then it's time to meet him and we saying what? Oh, wait, not today, because I got to do something after this. Plus, this is going to be so quick. We just going to bow down. This guy he's vain. He don't want but a couple minutes worship. And then I'm going to go back to worshiping the true and living God. But does it work that way? Brother Kurt, go ahead. Take us to the next point.
Well, I was thinking about this week, not Daniel, but just
the concept
dying for Christ, right? Because like literally dying for Christ. Yeah, I know we talk metaphorically about figuratively like, dying out and you gotta die for Christ, but like there are people across the world that are dying because of their faith. You know what I'm saying? And like I was thinking like, man, like if it like I'm in my thoughts. I'm like, what if America gets invaded? You know what I'm saying? And they killing Christians. Like, yo, like, if you're a Christian, like you got like I had to wrestle with myself. Like, am I willing to die?
Yes.
For what I believe. You know what I'm saying? And I think that is such a, this story, it's something we know and think about, but we live in practical times where like that might have to be a real thing. Are you really willing to? I know we want to live for Christ, but are we really ready to die for Christ? And it's like getting like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to share that.
No, I think that's spot on, right? So the brother is saying, look at the TV and the news and the landscape. It's not years ago. His point is, anytime an invasion can happen. America is 50 states. His point is, what if somebody just came up on the shore of the Sound and they only was able to take Connecticut? That's us. We thinking, oh, they're not going to take Idaho because Idaho way over there. But his point is, but what if you were one of the ones taken? And they said, we got the power of social media. We just need to show some Americans being put to death. See what he's asking? We ain't got to get everyone. We just need to get some of them. What he's saying is happening at this very hour. See what I'm saying? So it's not far-fetched. His point is, a couple of weeks ago in one part of the world, people were living their normal life. And then all of a sudden in 3 weeks, People getting snatched left and right. Is that not what's happening right now? So his point is it far-fetched? No. So he's saying when he's looking at those things on the TV, it's much like us reading this today. Let me put myself in that situation and think. I'm a father of two. I'm a husband. Am I willing to go to Christ today? See, we try to disconnect with what's going on in the world. And I don't think it's intentional. I just think, we live in how we live in. It's sad to hear bad things happening to people in the world. We pray for them, and then we keep living our life. But his point is, this past couple of weeks, he said he started to think not necessarily hypothetical. He was wrestling with actual factual. See? So hypothetically, for 3.5 years, Jesus kept talking about dying. But then when he got snatched, you had to make a decision right there. And one person cut someone's ear off, but Jesus put the ear back. So I'm always honest. If I seen Jesus put the ear back, I'm scattering. You know why? Because I'm confused. Right? Because I thought this whole time we were going to be fighting. Brother Kirk didn't mention fighting. He didn't say, would I go out in a blaze of glory? See? That's where we have to, wait a minute, this Christianity getting real. Because see, if Christianity was just about radical fighting, I think we would get more people. Because some people be like, okay, I can understand this, right? When the troops come, fight back and you'll die in your glory. Some cultures in human history, that's the type of death they pursue. Samurais in Japanese culture, they felt like it dictated the way you live by how you died. And if you were a warrior and you died in battle, you had an honorable death. Viking culture believed in that. But Jesus put the ear back. So it confused them. So if Jesus put the ear back and the girl is saying, hey, you were with him, I'm confused. Because now it sounds like I'm going to get crucified too. See what we're saying today? If it was Jesus flew in the air like an Avenger and he would start killing people, you would have been in power, all of us. We'd have been like, oh man, even if we aren't fighters, we would have started fighting because we would say, Jesus in the sky lasering people. But Christianity is not that way. You know the song we say, you wake up, people are never molested, though in the wrong. It's hard to do good continuously because when you look out, people that are sinners are winning left and right, up and down. See what we're saying? So it's hard to have conviction if the people doing wrong, it don't look like nothing bad happening to them. And then us, we do right, and God forbid killing, people will yell at you for helping them in the day we live in. You could literally be helping someone and they cussing you out. You thinking what? I was just helping. So these two comments are, wait a minute, I got to think to myself. All the Bible I believe, all the church I believe, right? Because you've seen this miracle, Daniel did this. So it's not like we could say, well, I don't know. I just woke up today and we were in Babylonian captivity. How I'm going to have strong faith? We already looked a couple of weeks ago, strong faith. You already have remembrance of your family telling you about the plagues, about the serpent, about the 10 commandments. We could go on and on. It's no different than saying, you know, in your own life, if you've walked with God enough, wow, you know what? I was left and God brought me right. Our question for the whole class is this: from what God has already done for you, is it enough to have the type of conviction we're talking about today? And if you can answer no, honestly, don't look at that as a bad thing. Now say, what would it take you to get to the point to have that level of conviction? All relationships are that way, right? Let's start with one that there's an assumption versus reality, like motherhood. Some people give birth and then they have postpartum depression, correct? Some women give birth and they feel no attachment to their child. So we cannot say a blanket statement, oh, you know, don't worry. Once you have your child, everything will change in you. Women always say that. No, not every woman. Nothing will change. As a matter of fact, some will change for the worse. So therefore, she has to work harder to be a loving mom. We don't like to talk about that, but that's some people's truth, right? So at that moment, if I say, would you be willing to die for your child? If she would be honest, her answer would be no. Let's not pounce on her because she's dealing with something. Our question is, what would it take to get her there as a mother? See what I'm trying to say? Some of y'all were there in the birth process, but some of you had to grow to that point as a mother. See? So what would it take for us to say, you know what? Brother Kirk is right. If I analyze, we all have to answer right now. It's just hypothetical. Will you die for Christ? Yes or no? And if you say yes, great. You ahead of most of us. If you say no, you have to think, I'm not just going to say no and leave the class. I'm going to think really honestly. What would it take for me to get to a yes? You ever go somewhere and they're selling timeshare? Most people are going to say no. Are they discouraged by the no? No, right? They trying to think, what would it take to get to a yes? Because I work on commission. Good salespeople don't care about no. The rest of us be, if you ever sold something but you're not a salesperson, you know when someone say no, you sweating like, oh, I failed. But a good salesperson, 38 no's, they'll keep it. You sit here thinking, hey, you not embarrassed they keep saying no? No, because they're salespeople. Because they feel like one yes is all they need. Some people in marriage relationships that way, because they just kept asking. And finally the person said yes, and they got a wedding ring now. Persistent, see? So our question to ourselves is, what would it take for us to get to a yes? Each person is different. That's why I want us to think individually. That's why I mentioned mothers, because it's something the world don't talk about. Every mother is different. Her experience is different. So therefore, it may take some mothers some time to get to the point where they can say, I would honestly lay down my life for my child. So what would it take to get her there? See, we're not pouncing on her because she's not there. Just what will it take? She may say time. She may say, once I start building a bond or a relationship with this child, then I will build more love to the point where it will be sacrificial love. That is what you might say. You may say, hey, listen, I'm just barely baptized. I don't have enough time like some of y'all. So maybe if I spent more time and I seen more things happen in my own life, then I would believe stronger. Don't we have to be honest with that? If we just baptized somebody yesterday, do we expect them to have same level of conviction as somebody baptized 50 years? No. But as a congregation, we got to think, because if one of us fall, the whole congregation fell. Once Eve ate, Adam fell too, because they're one. See what we're saying? You know how the phrase is, a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. It doesn't matter if 99 of us don't bow. If one person bowed down, the Church of Christ Bridgeport bowed down. See what we're saying? So we got to get you to the point where you would stand back up. If you looked around and you seen, oh, wow, Sister Ann never bowed down, what would it take for you to get up? That's what we're asking today. Hypothetical. You got to think. You got to think to yourself, even during harvest day. Let me think about this for a second. I'm eating, I'm laughing. What would it take for me to go from this life to the next? Now, let's be honest and practical. Do you know when you're going to die, whether if you have conviction or not? No, right? Anything could happen to us, right? So we already know the rest of today isn't certain. So it's not like God is saying, hey, you got to pick either living forever on earth or coming to be with me. That's a hard sell, right? Because we got to think, I got to be honest with you. Like, I can get a lot done if you give me forever here. But he told you today not even promised. So he's saying, if today isn't promised, are you going to be prepared to come to me? And some people still say no. See, he's telling you, you can't control the rest of today, not tomorrow. You know, people say tomorrow's not promised. Today is not promised. The rest of today is not promised. So we have to think to ourselves, let me think about this. What would I do in order to get to the point where I can give my life for Christ? Look at this verse 8. That's question 8. What is the difference between a religion of convenience and one of conviction? What was which was it in the case of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? I'm going to read just verses 16 through 18. Sorry, I'm going to read just the last piece of verse 17. Verse 15. Nebuchadnezzar says, who is the God who will deliver you from my hand? So he's mocking you. 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If that is the case, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand, O king. Even that verse is powerful. But you know where the real part of their faith comes in? Verse 18. Because all of us would have good faith if we got thrown in and could come back out. But verse 18 says, but if not, meaning if we don't come back out, let it be known to you, O king, that we do not serve your gods, nor will we worship the golden image which you have set up. See? So they didn't have convenience, which is a luxury. Luxury is bow down and get back up and go back to whatever you believe in, right? They had a conviction. You either bow down and die or stand up and live. There is no middle area. They said, look, we don't need to go back and forth, right? We're not going to debate. We're not going to ask our day in court. Like, we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. And we definitely don't want to waste God's time. Here's our response. If you throw us in that fiery furnace, our God is powerful enough to get us back out. If he chooses for his own divine will not to do so, we still not bowing down. And let it be known, we don't serve your God. Did they say that no one else should bow down? No. They just said, we not going to bow down. You can do whatever you want to do. We just serve another God. Don't be afraid to tell people that, because people stay telling me that I believe in the same God as you. I can't tell. I don't know what God some people believe in. I can only tell you what God that I believe in. So the point is, once you get past convenience, you know, when you lift weights, they tell you this. If you can put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, that's when you know you're working areas you don't normally work. If you doing workout after workout and you could run 10 miles after, you need to work something else out because you've already mastered that part. See, you're not in an uncomfortable situation. You're just working out in a state of comfort. See what I'm saying? Finances is that way. If you have $1,000, a penny is nothing to you. If somebody said, can I have a penny? That's not a sacrifice. If you had 2 mites and you gave your 2 mites, you made a sacrifice because you have no more mites left. See what I'm saying? So you gave all that you have. You're not in a position of convenience because it was still meals left in the day for that lady, correct? What will she eat for dinner? So she made a giving offer of conviction. See, she put herself in an uncomfortable situation. See what I'm saying? So when we look at it from that point of view, we got to think again, we know in America in this time period, we're comfortable, right? Some people may make fun of us, and I'm not minimizing how hurtful it is when people make fun of us, but it's not the same as life and death. At least we can admit that, right? So if it's not life or death, it's still a more comfortable situation. See what we're trying to say? If our faith can't be strong in comfort, how would it be strong when it's in an uncomfortable situation? See, that's why there's an old adage that said Christians are like little bags of tea, because you don't know how strong they are until you put them in hot water. If you put a tea bag in cold water, let me help you out. Not much gonna happen. But when you put it in hot water and you start moving the tea bag and the water around, you start to see that the color of the water change because what's in the bag comes out. Because the bag is uncomfortable. And the tea and the hot water are interacting in a chemical way, and the tea changes the water surrounding. The water don't change the tea surrounding, meaning the bag don't go, okay, now I'm gonna go clear too. I'm gonna go transparent because clear is transparent. The water takes on the coloration of the tea. Is that not correct? So therefore, the Christian is supposed to impact his or her environment, not the environment impact the tea. Shadrach and Meshach and Abednego impacted this whole kingdom to the point where King Nebuchadnezzar said, let me be clear. If I get wind of anybody saying something bad about these three guys, God, I'm going to cut you into pieces. Oh, people say, goodness, now we got to worship this God. Because he said, verse 29, there is no other God who can deliver like this. See, he's seen enough. He said, look, I see a lot. I conquer a lot of people. I got a lot of magistrates. I got a lot of governors. I got a lot of soothsayers, sorcerers. People try to feed me a bill of goods every day. I never seen nobody get thrown in no fire and come out. He's saying, I never seen that. So I'm going to just keep with my eyes. Anybody who talk bad about these three people, God, I'm going to cut you into pieces because I never seen nothing like that. See what he's saying? So therefore, that situation, quite literally, the temperature turned up and now the whole nation is impacted. And now let's look at it in closing. Who else is positively impacted? The Jews, because the people who Sister Karen said would not have stood up, now they don't have to bow down. See why that's powerful? If you do what God asks, think about it. You might impact in a positive way someone else's faith. Because now they say, oh, next time I'm in a bad way, I'm not going to give up because sister so-and-so didn't give up or brother so-and-so didn't give up. So because they stood in there, I'm going to stand in there. See, that is what happened. Now the whole nation don't have to bow down because three men said we either going to die or not die, but we're not bowing down. Three men changed a whole nation. Three. Not 300, not 3,000, not 3 million. Three people, all they said was, we're not bowing down. That's it. They didn't preach no sermon, did they? They didn't go into no soliloquy. They didn't remember no scripture. See, we start saying, oh, I don't have the words. He said, we're not giving you words. He said, we don't need to answer you in this manner. We're not bowing down. That's all they said, church. Sometimes you just have to be the voice of reason. Every time, every culture will have, every time period will have some situation where some young people will get into something and one young person will get out the car or leave the danger, and the movie will show you that the rest of the young people end up in peril or die. Every culture, every time period got some movie like that. And you think, I hope my child is smart enough to get out of the dangerous situation based off of his or her conviction. Parents, is that not true? That's the same Bible study we looking at. And when your kid ends up in danger, as a parent, are you upset at the other kids or the situation? You want to know, why didn't you get out the car? Because you say, I raised you better than that. Maybe God is saying, no, don't bow down. No. Why did you bow down? Because I thought I raised you better than that. And now look, we are like this. And God is saying, no. See? But just like the movies we have, three got out. And God's saying, you know what, those three? I'm going to use them as an example and change everyone else, and everyone else's faith will get stronger. When you going through something, Paul is a good example. Remember, he had a thorn in the flesh. When you going through something and you are an active member of a local congregation, two things. Don't let whatever that something is break you. Physical something, spiritual something, financial something, emotional something. First, don't let it break you, because he that created this world, he that is in you, is greater than the demons and Satan that's roaming the earth, right? So first, you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. First thing. Second, think about others. Because if you hang in there, somebody may have came to worship or Bible study barely, and they hear whatever you sing and they think, wow, because this week I was struggling. When I heard somebody this or that, I'm always amazed when someone loses a loved one and they be at service the next Sunday, because I think, wow. Seriously, I think, wow. Because we would not expect you to be at worship, correct? Because you just lost a loved one. And I think, wow, you came to worship? Because that person have a different conviction than me. See what we're saying? But I noticed that. The other person isn't doing it, so I notice it. But I would lie if I told y'all I don't notice it. I notice it, and I think, you know what? I pray I can be that strong in that situation, because maybe I can influence somebody that way. That's how life works. We got to take this story and think about the depth of our commitment. This week, before this week and next Sunday, if God allow us to live, every day, if you can, spend some moments coming and going, think about, let me see, what is the depth of my commitment? Do I just believe and say, hey, there's a higher power, que sera, sera, rub-a-dub-dub, thank God for the grub, and I just start eating? Or do I have a focus to say, you know what? I'm going to live different because there's a higher power. That's the only question we're asking. You either do nothing with your own life because you believe there's a God, or you live differently because you believe there's a God. Each person has to answer that. We can't make nobody answer either way, right? We can't make you answer to the left side or to the right side. Satan can't make you answer. God can't make you answer, right? Each person, he said, got to work out his own salvation in fear and trembling. You have to decide for your own self. So you got to think this week, wait a minute. If something happened to America or to Connecticut or to just Bridgeport, somehow, some way, what if it just happened to my street? Would I represent God, or would I say, I know I serve a forgiving God? So I know when I bow down and get back up and I just pray, God will forgive me anyway. See? Or will we say, you know what? If God take me home, great. Right? That means I don't have to pay bills. I don't have to pay rent or a mortgage anymore. Right? If God took me home today, we getting close to the 1st. I won't have to worry about bills for November. So I'm out of here. See, will we have that conviction, or will we say, no, I'm not ready? See, that's what we're asking. We have to think this week, that level of commitment, depth. You know how you have height and width, but a box is this. See this? From this part of the podium back is depth. That's how deep, right? It don't matter you see water on the surface. The question to non-swimmers is, how deep is the water, correct? Because if it's shallow enough, I'll stand up. But that's not swimming. If it's higher above your head in the floor, now we're going to see something, right? Because if you can't swim, you're going to what? Drown, because you can't reach breathing to the top and touch the bottom. That's called depth. So how deep is your faith means once we take you and put you in the hot water, are you going to be like, oh, I give up? No, I give up. Sorry. See? Or are you going to be like, I'm not giving up. I don't know who you thought I was. I'm not giving up. If everyone else gave up, I'm not giving up. See? That's the level of faith we have to have. And I'm going to repeat this. If you don't have that level of faith, don't beat yourself up about it. Just don't stay there. Think about to yourself honestly. If you have to write it down, do it. What would it take for me to have that type of faith? In relationships, some people don't have that. I'll close with this. 2 people go to and say till death do us part. Some people don't mean that. Some people will leave you and you still want to work it out, right? You thinking, come on, man, why you giving up? I can't make somebody stay, right? I just have my own level of conviction. See what we're trying to say? So therefore, you need to talk about what is your breaking point. Relationships don't talk about that enough, right? Because if we talked about each other's breaking point, I would already know, hey, there's some things where the death ain't going to do us part for the other person. The other person going to say, peace out. But see, when you don't talk about those things, it's hard to read, because some people will give you a smile all the time, but inside they're plotting. And you come home and they gone. You thinking, man, you need to give me a chance. Some people are that way, correct? Some people just block you and you think, man, I was going to text back. You didn't give me a chance. Therefore, what level of conviction do you have to say, you know what? Would I still say? Let me think about this. Would I stay? Let me think. Whew. Man, how much I love this person. There's a lot of persons in the world. See, there's a lot of people. It's nice the day of the wedding, but you start to think there's a lot of people. You ever think how many people? There's a church, there's a lot of people. I know you love your significant other, but there's a lot of people in this whole earth. And now we have the internet. So you could go on the internet and make a profile. You can meet some of those lot of people now, can't you? And you think this person is a way better match for me. This person is a way better match for me. So if I would have found this person before my person, this new person will be my person, and the current my person wouldn't be my person. That's true. Would you have a conviction? See, once you both loving each other, that's convenience. See where we're going? But if you met someone who is a better match for you, now you uncomfortable. You thinking to yourself, oh, now we talking real Bible now, because I have a great life with this other person. I have a good thing. How much do you love them? See what we're asking? We're using examples to force us to think uncomfortable today. What if we were in an uncomfortable situation and we had a left and a right, a yes and a no, an A and a B, door 1 and door 2, and you couldn't pick a middle? What would you decide? Too often we are in the middle. And Jesus said to a church in Revelation, I wish you were either hot or you were cold, but you in the middle too much. So because you in the middle, I'm going to pick the side for you. Did he put him on the hot side? No. He put them on the cold side. Because he said, if you're not hot, you're cold anyway. I'm that way with food. I don't particularly like lukewarm food. I like hot food if it's supposed to be hot. I don't want cold pizza. I don't want room temperature pizza. Depending on how long it takes me to get home from picking up the pizza, I'll still put it in the microwave. So, because to me, lukewarm is cold. So when I first read that, I said to myself, even though I'm not hot, I can understand Jesus, because that's how I am. I either think you for me or you against me. Sometimes I put in the against me column. See what I'm trying to say? So all of this is to say questions 7, 8, and 9. I want us to really think about the depth, the conviction, and the commitment. Depth, conviction, commitment. Depth, conviction, commitment. Think about those 3 things and look at it from that point of view. Really, question 10, I'm sorry. Question 7, 8, 9, and 10 is what we covered today. Depth, commitment, and conviction. Depth, commitment, and conviction. Think about those 3 things. All right, next week we can either wrap up question 11 or 12 or move on to lesson 4. I'll let the next brother decide that. We just have 2 questions at the end. We covered 7, 8, 9, and 10 this morning. Thank you for everyone's comments and participation. Those of you who are on live stream, we ask that you disconnect from this session and join us in our worship service session. Those of you who are here, we'll give you a few minutes at this time after a quick prayer to disperse, and we'll sing you back into the worship service, and then we'll begin. All right.